Hey, wrestling fans, it's the Birdman Coco Beware, and you listen to the Card Subject to Change podcast. That's right. You don't want to miss it, and I guarantee you, you can't beat it with a stick. You can't whip it with a switch. Don't even try. But sometimes love feels just right. It feels so real. It feels just like a power driver. Yeah, a power driver. That's what I'm talking about.
So me personally, I'm actually a lifer. I don't remember a time that I wasn't watching professional wrestling. Even my mom explains it to me as when I was a small child, you know, I would just stop in front of the TV and just sit and watch, and I'd just be quiet. It just totally zoned in. So I always been a wrestling fan. And as I get older and even learn more about the business, it's like I continue to fall in love with it for different reasons.
Just it blows my mind. And I'm like tugging on my mom's pants and stuff. And I'm like, Mom. And she's like, yeah, what? And I go, I want to do that. And I'm like pointing at the TV. Well, she looks and she goes, oh, you want to be like Macho Man and wear this cool sunglasses and say, oh, yeah, and do the elbow drop? And I go, no, I want to be the guy throwing snakes at people.
Yeah.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast. The For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and Never Wrong Nick Bull.
Hello, fans, one and all. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. Of course, I am your host, Never Wrong Nick Bull. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, my co-tag champ of the For Frequency's Sake Network. We were on the road defending those titles last night, weren't we, Liz?
We sure were. What a wild night. Before we talk about that, I just want to let you know we are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook Country Financial. We have a guest in the studio helping us out. But before we get to that, Nick, I think we need to give a huge thank you shout out to Absolute Pro Wrestling and everything that happened last night. What an amazing night Saturday night was as we record this.
Yeah, we went up last night to Waterloo for an Absolute Pro Wrestling show. Of course, we did our podcast before the show. I want to thank everybody that was involved with that. Went off without a hitch. I mean, we had interviews lined up. Everybody just streamed in. It was perfect. It went so good. It went so fast. And we're like, oh, now what are we going to do? Jason Prentice peeks his head around the curtain and says, hey, our equipment crashed. You guys want to podcast a wrestling show? And we thought it was a rib at first, not going to lie. But Jason was being totally truthful and wanted us to get a still shot of the ring and be able to commentate the live action for the people that were watching online. And we were glad to do so. And yeah, I'm still riding high. I still can't believe it happened. Yesterday was a whirlwind. And last night was a whirlwind. But glad to be back, sailing our course here. Glad that Stryker is joining us, of course. Stryker, big fan and friend of the show, friend of everyone here. Glad to have him in here with us today, talking all things Clash of the Castle. But what a day yesterday was, man. What a ride.
Wrestle hangover is the word, the term I want to use.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Oh, man. So much to talk about. This weekend had a lot of wrestling action, whether you were at Dreamwave, SCW Pro, APW, Clash at the Castle. And that's what we're here to talk about. Clash at the Castle, coming to you from Glasgow, Scotland, Drew McIntyre's backyard. And Drew McIntyre, of course, in that main event. We'll talk about that and everything going on, gentlemen. But Stryker, how are you feeling today? Welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you for having me back. And what a show and what a weekend for wrestling fans anywhere.
Absolutely.
You were able to partake of both SCW Pro shows this weekend. Of course, Mercado on 5th on Friday, and then the wrestling show they had in Bluegrass last night. Just talk a little bit about those 2 nights of wrestling and what were you able to experience.
Well, I would say probably for for Mercano wise, we got to see a lot of new faces, which I've personally never seen. There was a man named Two Scoops Tommy Test, and he went by two different names because one name for Saturday and one name for Friday, but I remember for Friday he was known as Turbo Man, and he wore a Iron Man mask, luchador mask.
Sure.
And we crowned the first ever Mercano champion, and our good friend Cornboy won the Battle Royal for the main event. And we got to see return of the Lucha legend, Latin Thunder, to represent the title.
Yeah, I did see that picture, and it looked like good crowds at both Mercado on 5th on Friday night, and then SCW Pro last night in Bluegrass. Were the pictures telling us the truth that there was good crowds at both?
Oh yeah, there always is. And that's why I love to go to SCW, just to see all those people in. I got to bring my cousins for the first time for their first SCW show at Bluegrass.
And how was that for their first time? Did they happen to enjoy it?
They had the best time of their lives.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
That's great to know. I mean, you can go to a wrestling show and have such a good time, but I think it's all fair to say after such a long weekend and Monday staring us in the face, the wrestle hangover is real. CZ pointed it out here in the opening moments of the show. The wrestling hangover is real. But let's get down to tasks, I guess, and talk about what we're here to talk about, and that's Clash of the Castle. Took place in Glasgow, Scotland yesterday, another WWE Premium Live event. And we were talking before we went on the air here. They gave a pretty good effort. I'm not knocking Glasgow. They weren't France, but they gave it a try, and they were loud and rambunctious as well.
Oh, sure.
What do you think about that audience, Stryker?
I 100% agree with you that it was hard to beat France, but I would say they were close.
Yes.
But France was still much better reactions purposes.
Now, funny story.
And you've got to.
Oh, go ahead, CZ.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, you've got to imagine that those overseas crowds or those out-of-country crowds are as hyped up as they are because they don't get those live shows as much as we do. We are very spoiled here in the States to have shows somewhere big shows like that every week somewhere.
Oh, for sure.
We tried our best on the write-up yesterday to avoid spoilers, but I think it got to a certain time where we're like, okay, we got to look and see what happened because we want to know what happened.
For sure.
I think we were both surprised. Maybe everybody here is surprised in the room. The show kicks off with the WWE Championship match. Maybe thinking it wasn't going to be the main event, thinking maybe the Drew Priest match would be the main event since it was in Scotland. But I did not see Cody and AJ Styles kicking off the show. But I'm telling you what, I'm glad they went first because this really set the tone for the show. I thought these guys went out there and put on a hell of an I Quit match.
Oh, 100%.
And just the dynamic of the match, the way things played out was really well done. I don't want to jump ahead to the end, but the ending was I thought very, very good because you had to think that Styles knew he wasn't going to get out of the situation he was in, and he saved himself from getting hit by the steel steps to end the match, only to get that steel step shot anyway from Cody Rhodes.
I was a little shocked that Cody went through with the metal steps after the match, but maybe this is a polarizing moment for Cody's reign where he is showing the crowd, he's showing the audience, he's showing the fans that he's willing to do whatever it takes to keep that title around him. He's willing to go to the next step. He's willing to go the next gear, turn the next page, to be able to keep that title, to be able to stay on top of the heap in WWE. I think it showed another side of Cody that we aren't used to seeing. But I think, it's good to know that he has that side and is able to show it when he needs to.
For sure. I will point out, I pointed this out the last time we reviewed a WWE event. Cody, once again, going to the well 3 times with the Crossroads. They're overusing that move, and it's going to kill it for him, in my opinion.
Now, I didn't mind it here. It's an I Quit match. I know what you mean, though, going to the well a little too often, but you're trying to keep your man down. You're trying to get them to say I quit. I mean, I guess maybe I'd understand a little more if it was a last man standing match, which it wasn't. It wasn't an I Quit match, so I can see where you're coming from, and I'll agree with what you're saying. But, yes, it is something to keep an eye on in the upcoming shows of the Crossroads being, quote-unquote, used too much. Stryker, did you get that impression that it's being used too much, or you noticed that when he's been doing it 3 times?
Oh yeah, I think I've started noticing it more. Well, I've noticed he's been doing it ever since WrestleMania 39 for the first match with him and Roman.
Yep.
And then not until I think he hasn't really done the 3 Crossroads on Raw. It's just pay-per-views I've noticed. I don't know if any of you noticed that.
Yeah, I've noticed that. So I'm a gamer. I don't know if either of you are. I know Nick's not a big gamer, but I do play 2K24 every once in a while, and they've incorporated what they call a super finisher, where if you have
I've done it all the time on there.
That is what Cody Rhodes' Triple Crossroads is a super finisher, and it seems excessive to me. You know,
it might be just promoting the new game.
That could be, but they don't mention it on there when he does it 3 times. So
yeah,
I don't know. It just, I don't want to see his finishing move become just, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, the opposite of protected.
Well,
you don't want it to lose its shine.
Yes.
Well, you know what it reminds me of? You guys might say I'm crazy when I say it, but it reminds me of Young Bucks doing super kicks every single time they have an opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm not as much against it as what CZ is. I guess I understood it when it happened with Roman, because that was ending a long story. A year in the making, you know, lost at WrestleMania the year before, and then is able to come back and triumph and do it. I don't have a problem, as big of a problem with as CZ does, but I see what CZ means. When he does them consecutively, I like it better than him pausing in between each one. Does it consecutively, it's bam, bam, bam. I can let that slide a little bit, but if there's like pause in between each one, I think it's a little too much. But it's something to keep an eye on here in the coming months, as he's still your WWE champion. He was able to make AJ Styles say "I quit,"
like a true face of the company kind of thing.
And the true face of the company. It's something to keep an eye on for sure. I don't know if you guys saw the announcement or not. I seen it this morning when I was flipping through my phone here.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Talking about AJ Styles?
Yep.
Yeah, AJ Styles, as WWE continues kind of to expand their brand, you know, they had Jordan Grayson on an NXT show, and then Tatum Paxley shows up on a TNA show. AJ Styles is going to be taking on Naomichi Marufuji at a Pro Wrestling Noah event. Marufuji was a name back in the early Ring of Honor days that performed on those shows. Ring of Honor had an agreement with Pro Wrestling Noah early on in their early days. So these two may have crossed paths at some point in Ring of Honor, once or twice, but this is a pretty big announcement for a pretty big active member of the WWE universe, one of the best wrestlers in the world, AJ Styles, to step out of WWE and step into a Pro Wrestling Noah ring.
Well, I don't know if you guys brought it up on a previous episode, but did you see the one with Io Sky though?
Yes, she is going to be. Is that a Monarch show?
I think it was.
It's not Stardom, it's Monarch.
No.
Yes, good point there, Striker. Hey, I knew we had him here for a reason, CZ. It's easier to help us remember what we forget. But Io Sky will be part of a Monarch show. The former man who ran Stardom broke off and started a new promotion in Japan, and Io Sky is going to be showing up for a match on that. So this is unprecedented times, gentlemen, where we've seen stars going to different promotions while under contract for WWE, and it's being welcomed with open arms and advertised. I think it's a cool thing to see.
Well,
I think it's a good thing all around.
Like just what I told ZZ like a few weeks ago, this is the best time to become a wrestling fan right now.
It absolutely is. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like I know a lot about pro wrestling. No, I know very little. But I'm hoping this foray of AJ Styles going there and taking on Marufuji opens some eyes to things and learn some new stuff. We see some new wrestlers. Maybe somebody from Pro Wrestling Noah comes over in an exchange, and we get to see a new wrestler in a new market that we haven't seen before. So that's what's cool about it is this kind of give and take that's going on, that the WWE has working on right now with TNA and with Pro Wrestling Noah and with Monarch. And I know AEW does it, the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, and their working relationship with New Japan. Hey, same thing. They're bringing those New Japan guys that we rarely get to see and showcasing them on a pay-per-view for all to see. And I think it's a great idea. I love it. It's a good way to familiarize with somebody you don't know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with seeing a wrestler you don't know. It's great. It's new to learn about somebody new and to find out what their home promotion is and stuff. So what a time to be a fan.
I'll go even further than that, and I'll call back to WrestleMania weekend when you saw the likes of Shayna Baszler and Charlie Dempsey on Bloodsport. Yeah, WWE giving the rub to the independent promotions as well.
Absolutely. Good point there, CZ. That's right. A Bloodsport on WrestleMania weekend, part of the GCW collective. You've seen Charlie Dempsey in a match on the Bloodsport pay-per-view, and you've seen Shayna Baszler in a match on a Bloodsport pay-per-view. Totally different promotion, independent promotion, and hey, it helped everybody involved. It gets everybody's name out there, and I think this needs to be more of a thing, because I think people look at the wrestling world. We talk about tribalism, and I think people look at the wrestling world with maybe a hint of tribalism in their sunglasses. Oh, that person works there, they must not like this person. Or this person works there, that company hates us. It's not really like that. The fans kind of create that. So seeing this where different wrestlers are sprinkled into different places for different promotions is a good thing all in all for the sport.
And for just those men and women, because they get to experience what it's like to be in that locker room.
Oh, absolutely. 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 I couldn't agree with you more.
You are when you were saying about Noah, there's somebody that both us three know that wrestle for Noah that I'd love to see in WWE if they're going to maybe bring some Noah guys. Is our good buddy Dante Leon.
That's right. That's right. Dante Leon was the junior GHC Global Honored Champion over for Pro Wrestling Noah. Yeah, that'd be cool. I think I did see Dante on the new Dreamwave poster.
Yeah, I did see him too.
I
saw him too.
So he's making waves in Dreamwave as well.
So maybe fingers crossed, Dante versus Danhausen. Maybe.
Oh, that'd be great, wouldn't it? That'd be great.
Yes. Sign me up.
You are listening to the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan, for the fan. We are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zoot Country Financial. I'm never wrong, Nick Bull. man below me is Wizard CZ. And, of course, we've got a fan. He's helping us here today. And a friend of the show, Stryker. We're talking the Clash at the Castle. Do any of you guys have any more thoughts on that opening match before we proceed with the show?
No.
Well,
I think we've covered it all.
Maybe just one with I don't know if you guys caught it, but how Randy was looking at Cody after he saved him. Looked at the title.
That's right. After the match, Cody was walking up the aisle to where he is met from behind by the Bloodline and Stole Sikola, Tamatonga, and Tongaloa, and is starting to get beat down before you hear Randy Orton's music hit and Randy Orton and KO come out and make a save. And then afterwards, Randy's got a loving glance, we'll call it, at the WWE Championship. He's looking at it very forlorn. Maybe that's what we see here in the coming months is Cody Randy. Maybe that's the feud after SummerSlam. I don't know. But it would be a beautiful thing, I think. I think ever since Randy has returned at Survivor Series and the past with Cody, of course, the days they ran together in Legacy, people have been wanting to see them run that back and see where that feud is now, these years later, that Cody's more mature, more developed in the game. I would not be opposed to an Orton Cody feud at all. I think it would be fun.
Yeah, I agree.
100%.
I completely agree. I'd enjoy that quite a bit.
Before we move on to the next match here, the Tribal Chief DJ Jarvis saying, Stryker with the other one sporting the card subject to change gear. Man, that is a sexy looking shirt, I will admit. Part-timers will love it. Yeah, I just woke up from a nap, man. I'm sorry. But, man, that does look good. That T-shirt looks good on you, Stryker.
Well, one of the best shirts out there.
I agree.
And, hey, this is a great opportunity. If you want a card subject to change shirt, check us out on TeePublic. The link is in the description of the video. And we have 3 different designs. We've got our standard card subject to change shirt like Stryker is wearing. We have our Welcome Back to the Show shirt. And we have our Versus shirt, our 8-bit, our pixelated shirt where Nick and I are facing off against each other, even though we are tag team partners. Next up on Clash at the Castle, we saw the women's tag titles defended, and this was the shortest match on the card, and I think it should have been. I think that was the right call. Interesting dynamic. It's a triple threat, and usually with triple threats or multi-team matches, they have two people in the ring, and anyone can tag anyone. For this match, it was 3 competitors in the ring, and you could only tag your partner. So that's a little bit of a change from what WWE usually does in their multi-team matches, which I thought was a bit refreshing. Let me ask you fellas here, with Bianca and Jade losing the titles, does this start a build for those two to collide in the near future?
It's hard to tell right now because I don't know if they're going to get an immediate tag team rematch for the titles, or they're, even though I'm still surprised about the winners, but
I don't know.
I am, but I'm not.
I think if the seeds are going to be planted for them to, it's going to happen on their, on the way to try to get the belts back. They'll undoubtedly get a rematch somewhere down the line here, probably sooner rather than later. Maybe a series of rematches.
I have that feeling. Well, it might just be me, but I feel like either it's going to be Bianca or Jade's going to walk away from one of the other in a match.
Okay.
Then they're going to blame each other.
I mean, that's the feud. That's a feud. I mean, they got a feud ready made They just got to present it and pull the trigger on it, because I think these two, although made a good power tag team, and I would like to see the longer run out of them. And who knows, they may get the belts back, and they may be a tag team, a formidable tag team for quite some time. But the online criticisms I was reading after this match are the reason why I would not start that feud yet. Is that Jade Cargill did not look good in this match. Maybe her first bad outing.
Are we talking about her jumping off the top?
Yes, and I don't know. I had a buddy text me and wanted my opinions on it as I watched the show. Were the ropes too loose?
So
Because
it's funny
there
you say that.
There were several flubs. There were several flubs on the show. It wasn't just Jade Cargill. There were some noticeable flubs in other matches, but Jade looked off in this match.
Yeah.
I think if you want that feud with Jade and Bianca, it's going to still need a little time yet. Jade's still not quite there, I don't think, for a full-on feud with Bianca, but the wheels are turning. I think the seeds have maybe started to be planted.
I could totally see that.
Okay.
And
CZ, how about you?
My question there is, what do you do with Jade after this match with the online criticism? I've read people saying that she needs to be sent back to the Performance Center for a bit. Do you keep her on the roster and hope she gets better that way, or do you send her back down to Florida for a month or two to polish her style?
It's a good question.
I mean, if it was me, I'm just saying, if it was me, I like what you were just saying. I feel like, in my personal opinion, she should have started with NXT before she even hit the main roster.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Because I don't think she was really ready.
No, she wasn't. She wasn't.
No, I agree.
And I had thought I had given WWE credit on this show a lot in the past for doing such a good job of bringing her along and not having her overexposed. I don't think it was any fault of their own. I think it was just bound to happen at some point and needed to happen. Maybe this is a page that she can turn and move on. But she'd been booked excellent. I mean, they've done a good job with how they've handled her. They've done a good job with her presentation. When she comes on, I mean, it's a big deal with the production and the presentation. So maybe this is just a bump in the road for Jade. Hopefully she can learn from this. I just don't think they can send her back down right now. I think they got to keep her on the main roster. But time will tell, and I'm with you, Stryker. I thought she was going to have a run in NXT before she made a splash on the main roster.
Yeah, I remember with that for sure.
Because I remember all of us when we were for the Royal Rumble watch party, we were all surprised that she even showed up in the Royal Rumble.
Yep, we absolutely were. We absolutely were.
But
we haven't even mentioned the ladies who won the match, have we not?
We haven't.
And Isla Dawn, they get a big win in their home country. Big pop from the crowd. I think obviously WWE likes to do that when they can. And it was a genuine surprise that these two won the match. I definitely thought for sure Jade and Bianca would retain in some way. But a good way, it's good to be surprised as a wrestling fan. It's not good to know everything that's going to happen and sit there and say, I told you so. So I'm glad I was wrong here and did not see this one coming. And we've got new women's tag champs.
I'm just now really curious what's next for them.
Very good.
They really haven't been on television.
No, they have not had much TV time. They really haven't. I mean, since they were called up, after the draft or in the draft, they haven't been on much. You're right, Stryker. They have not had much TV time. So this was kind of an out of nowhere moment where they were able to win the belts. Now maybe this is going to push them to the forefront and be on TV more. I don't see them dropping the belts back right away.
Oh no,
maybe a month, 2 months. But
maybe
I also don't
maybe.
see them being champions very long. That's just my opinion.
But
I can agree with that. I don't see them holding the titles very long, but I think this will be a good way to present them and bring them into the forefront, because they're both fairly decent wrestlers. I can't really find fault in either one of their abilities at this point, and I think being in their home country, this was well deserved all around, honestly.
100%.
Gentlemen, go ahead, Striker.
Because I've noticed they try to do like maybe one or two hometown heroes win a belt. Not everybody, but they'll at least try to do one or two people.
Right.
For sure. This card has a few more matches, but I think this is a good time to take a timeout, pay respect to our brethren on the For Frequency Sake Podcast Network and our sponsors. And on the other side of the break, we'll hear from our good friend JT Energy with his moment of focus. But stay tuned. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Football season may be over, but For Frequency's Sake still has you covered for all your sporting needs. Tune in every Sunday when the best professional wrestling podcast around, Cards Subject to Change, gets you caught up on everything inside the ropes. They won't miss a count with weekly analysis and interviews. More into auto racing? We've got a double dose for you on the track. Tune in to Fast Money with Rod Villagomez each week and win some money with the quickest bets in all of sports. Want more insight from Pit Row? Check out the Green, White, and Checkered podcast where they give their insight on everything happening on and off the track. Need your basketball fix? Points in the Paint has you covered with live shows every other week looking at everything in the association. Backed by popular demand, we have the return of The Payoff Pitch, FFSQC's baseball show, covering you on news around the MLB. If you're missing football, don't fret. Mark and Dan still have you covered in the football lounge. Missing Joe Winkle? Probably not, but he's still here talking sports on Educated Ignorance. Football season might be over, but we've still got you covered. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
For Frequency's Sake is brought to you by Durham Remodeling, serving the Quad City area's remodeling and repair needs since 1973. Clint's Draft House, grab a bite and a pint. 7th Street Moline. Lopez, New York-style pizza served up by the slice or pie, Davenport. Lifted Energy, energy drinks, coffee, donuts, and more. #GetLifted. Atomic Sports Cards and Collectibles. Sports cards and memorabilia, vintage clothing, hats, pennants, and more. Ryan Allison Tattoo. Step into the vibrant world of tattoos with Ryan Allison. And A Cut Above, offering quality custom woodwork designed specifically around our customers.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back.
You are tuned into the Card Subject to Change podcast, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook, Country Financial. We are the podcast by the fans for the fans. We're going to take a quick moment here before we get back into Clash at the Castle to toss things over to our good friend, the feline phenom, JT Energy, for his moment of focus.
Welcome to a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy. And what a wild weekend we've all had. The Card Subject to Change podcast, JT Energy, the WWE superstars from Clash at the Castle. What should we focus on? We should focus on what today is all about. Our dads. The reason we're here. And that could be good and that could be bad, depending on your relationship or the story that you've been told or lived through. But today, if you can, and it's good, find that special moment to soak in and appreciate today. Appreciate those fathers. Appreciate those dads. This has been a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy.
Huge thank you to our friend JT Energy for doing that weekly moment of focus. And like he said, as we record this, it is Father's Day. So I want to wish everyone tuning in happy Father's Day. Nick, happy Father's Day to you. If you saw our Facebook post, I found I wished everybody happy Father's Day with Fit Finley and one of his two sons, Hornswoggle. I wish I could have found a picture with him, Hornswoggle, and David Finley to post on the show on the page, but there wasn't a picture of the three of them together for some reason. I don't know why not.
Yeah, that family picture hasn't leaked out there yet, but I saw that and had a chuckle. But happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. It's definitely a day to remember them and to acknowledge them, so to speak. But yeah, it's Father's Day weekend. We're here on the Card Subject to Change podcast, and we're breaking down the clash at the Castle. We just talked about the women's tag team title match. We are now on. What was the next match on this card?
That would be the Intercontinental Championship match. And this, I just am going to put it out there. This is my favorite match on the card. I thought it had a good story. I thought the match was well put together. I thoroughly enjoyed watching Sammy and Chad go at it again.
Strucker, what do you think about this match?
I 100% agree that that was honestly the greatest match, even though I will say we should have a new champion, but that's just me.
That's fair. I don't know why they're waiting on crowning Chad Gable. I think he's very deserving of holding the Intercontinental Championship, but I think they're waiting until the official breakup of the Alpha Academy, honestly, because they've been teasing that for a while. At some point, you've got to think that Otis is going to get sick of being berated by Chad Gable and is just going to pull the trigger and take him out. And then after that, Chad can, when he's by himself, won't have the, as he would, I'm sure, put it in character, the dead weight of the Alpha Academy holding him down, and he could fully focus on taking out Sammy and getting that title around his waist for the first time.
Well, it's going to come to a head here soon. It progressed, I thought, very well outside the ring antics with Gable getting in the face of not only Otis, but also Maxine Dupree.
Yes.
Hey, I need you where, giving them instructions where they need to be. Maxine in a walking boot, so hopefully she's okay and will be back to action here soon. But she was out there limping around at ringside. But there's only so much a man or a woman can take. So many butt chewings, so many over-the-top arguments that Gable seems to have with the Alpha Academy, and it's coming to a head. But I thought it was paced very well during this match. I thought the stuff going on outside the ring didn't take away from the action in the ring. It kind of was the underlying story during it. The match itself, Gable and Zayn have great chemistry. They do. They have great chemistry between them. Gable has re-signed with WWE, so he's not going anywhere. So the line of thinking out there that he's not going to win the title because he could be leaving is gone. He's staying. He re-signed. But I like that thought of, I think he's going to win the title. Gable eventually. I think he's going to win the IC title, but I think it's going to be after the Alpha Academy implodes, breaks up, whatever you want to call it.
Striker, what are your thoughts on the Alpha Academy? And obviously, we know your thoughts on Chad Gable. You think he should have been crowd champion. You're not wrong, but I think we're going to see that trigger pulled eventually. But what are your thoughts on the match overall?
I don't think a lot of people realize how amazing those two gentlemen are in the ring, because Sammy doesn't look like he's one of those high best performers, but he's one of the best high flyers, and then Gable with a technician. With those two mashed together, you probably have one of the best stories probably Zayn's had since the Bloodline.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And
Striker, to go off what you're saying, I know exactly what you mean. Sammy looks unassuming. He's not this ripped up dude that's big and doing these power moves. He's got the long the beard, the hair. He takes a punishment like no other. And then you got Gable, who is this muscle-bound amateur wrestler background, but he's short. He's not a big guy. So neither one of these guys are quote-unquote big guys. But they go out there, and I just love how they complement each other. These two guys can go out there. I wish before they started this whole feud, I wish these two would have somehow got it locked into a best of 7 series, because these
100%.
guys, like the Booker T, Chris Benoit, best of 7 way back in the day in WCW, these two I think could have done something similar to that. Just with their styles, how they complement each other. They're both so good in the ring. Sammy's so good at selling. Gable's doing this great part of playing the asshole heel. He's doing such a great job. I hope this isn't the last encounter that we see. I hope
I can't see it being the last.
I hope this continues. I really do, because I like the magic that these two put together. And I would agree with you. I thought it was the best match on the card as well.
Well, it's funny you bring that up about this story with Booker T and Chris Benoit. It more reminds me of Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I like that too. I like that. I like that too.
And the thing that I love about this rivalry is they bring something different out every match. You're not seeing cookie cutter matches, which you don't see as much nowadays, but they bring something new. They bring a new dimension to the rivalry every time they step in the ring.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, they're doing a great job of keeping this feud fresh. Nothing's really been repeated too much. And when you got the extra characters on the outside, it just, it can add or it can take away from the product that's going on. And I think it's done nothing but add. It hasn't distracted me from the matches at all. The fates of Otis and the fates of Maxine Dupree and Akira Tozawa, with who was not there, people are caring about what's going to happen to them and how they've been treated. So they're going to tune in and watch, and the wrestling to go along with it has been excellent. So I love this feud. I love everything that's going on with it right now, and I hope it continues. Maybe culminates at SummerSlam. Who knows? We still got Money in the Bank to get through. SummerSlam seems so far away, fellas, but it'll be here before we know it.
100%.
Yeah, it will. It really will. So the next match on the card, for me, felt very much like a blink and you miss it match, because maybe I was just distracted while this was going on. Maybe I wasn't invested as much in the story or the people in the ring. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Bayley, and I'll follow Bayley till the day she retires, and maybe even beyond that. But I didn't have the care factor of seeing her and Piper Niven go at it as I did for some of the other matches on this card.
I could see what you mean by that, because I think the only reason why they did this match in particular is since Piper's from Scotland.
I think you're right. I'm sure you're right.
Because I can't think of anybody else that Bayley has a rivalry with on the top of my head.
No, they're. Yeah, Bayley's kind of.
It made sense to do the Piper Niven match here. Get her a match in front of her hometown crowd, a big premium live event match. I don't know if the feud is now with Chelsea Green, if there is a feud there with Bayley and Chelsea Green, but
it's hard to say.
It's hard to say. When you said the blink and miss it match, you're right. Like, I don't know if I got distracted either, but I listened to Piper Niven's entrance and her ring announcement when she got announced by Samantha Irvin, and I thought Cole did a good job of talking about her history and what she did in Scotland to get into wrestling and where she wrestled over there. I love that. I love that background. I love that we're mentioning other organizations. Clearly a new age here in WWE, and I think I think Triple H having Cole do that, or Cole saying that stuff, is endearing to fans. Fans want to hear that stuff. Fans want to hear their other successes other than the WWE. And and hearing that background, hearing her wrestling background in Europe and the accomplishments she made, giving her resume as she walks out there, I loved it. It's a great touch. But I left my head scratched after this match. Like, man, it wasn't very long, and I don't know what they have next for Bayley. I guess it remains to be seen, but yeah, this match was kind of the blink and you'll miss it match.
Yeah, and I mean, I looked away for a second, and then I looked back and the match is over. I'm like, what happened?
The only rivalry I could see maybe happen, but this is a strong maybe, Nia Jax, because Queen of the Ring.
SummerSlam,
and of
right?
course there is, there is that build for SummerSlam where Nia gets her opportunity. What do you do between now and then, though? Do you forgo, because Money in the Bank, you're not going to have a lot of, you're not going to have more than 2 or 3 additional matches, other than the men and the women's Money in the Bank matches, in my opinion. WWE has been pretty good about having a smaller card. What were you going to say, Nick? Sorry.
I would say maybe Chelsea Green gets the shot at Money in the Bank since she's Canadian.
Yeah, that could very well be. I wouldn't.
I was about to ask about that. Wasn't Money in the Bank in Canada this year?
Yeah, it's in Toronto. Toronto. CZ, I think you were making a good point that WWE has done a really good job, I think, of quote unquote trimming the fat on these premium live events and having 5 matches. There's nothing wrong with having 5 or 6 matches.
No.
Then you're engaged in every one of them instead of throwing 13 or 14 out there and 4 of those matches become a blur because you don't remember them. The pacing of these shows, the length of these shows is getting back to that where, a wrestling pay-per-view shouldn't exceed 3 hours, in my opinion. And
like a certain company we know. I'm not
like
saying
a certain
anything.
company we know. I'm not going to mention them here. That's right. And then a WrestleMania can go as long, 4 or 5 hours. I understand that. But I think they've got it down. They did it. They've been doing it with these premium live events. We've seen it at Backlash in France. We saw it, yesterday with Clash in the Castle. A smaller card, but each match organically has room to breathe and grow and not get too excessive, is what I'm trying to say.
And to an extent, I understand the concept of wanting to get more people onto the card, wanting to give more people a payday. But this format that the WWE is using gives more focus on the story, giving time to build and to get you invested by not overloading their card. Because it's hard to keep track of 10 to 12 storylines, which I'm not saying that other company is good at their storylines by any means, but it's hard to keep track of if you overload the pay-per-view of what story is doing what where. This is a perfect amount of matches that they've been doing. Maybe even adding one more here and there so that it's a 6-match card. But like you said, Nick, it gives time to breathe. It gives them the opportunity to build the match as it should be, and it's not just like, it's a 5-minute match that we're just throwing on there to get somebody a payday.
Right. Well, I think, the Clash of the Castle show, everyone had a great, everyone thought, wow, last year's Clash of the Castle, Drew McIntyre really got hosed by Roman Reigns and the Bloodline with the debut of Solo Sikoa. He's in his hometown, very close to his hometown, closest he'll ever be for a show. And he's got another back at the title, this time against Damian Priest. Damian Saint was last time an Absolute Pro Wrestling.
Surprise, Damian Saint is the world champion.
My wires are getting crossed here. Before we talk about the main event between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. I want to ask the both of you, how do you think the booking has been Priest's run since he cashed in at WrestleMania?
It's different
So-
a little bit.
Okay, go ahead, Striker.
That's a good word for it.
It's different because they're not. What I've noticed, they haven't really push him like every world champion they've had for the last few years. They're not trying to shove him down our throats. And he doesn't do as many promos as like other previous world champions.
Right. CZ, what are your
see
thoughts?
that. I'm going to steal a word from that's thrown around from that other company, and I'm just going to call it what it is: mid. I think it's been very lackluster. I wish he had a little more spotlight put on him, but it seems like the world title is taking a back seat when you have stories like the one between Sami Zayn and Chad Gable going on. It seems like the world heavyweight championship is just getting pushed aside just a little bit to focus on other things, and I don't think that does justice to that title.
You make a good point there, CZ. What's the biggest thing right now on Monday Night Raw? It's not Damian Priest as champion. It's this Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio storyline, is it not? I mean, that seems to be the buzz on Monday nights. That seems to be what everybody's talking about or reacting to. I had a friend message me this week, and he said that this Damian Priest, cash in and reign has given him the Jack Swagger vibe. When Jack Swagger won Money in the Bank and then cashed in and then kind of had kind of a mid title run. So I don't know.
I have a question for you, CZ. Do they?
Okay.
They're doing. They're trying to push it on the side because of if he wasn't in Judgment Day, do you think Damian would be on TV more, or
possibly? Like Nick said, the everything seems to be taking a back burner to the Liv and Dom storyline on Raw itself. If Priest has been separated from Judgment Day, I think he might be getting a little more shine on TV and getting a little more presence than he is. That's not to say that I want to see him torn away from Judgment Day, even though they've teased that. Obviously, there's been on and off tension between Priest and Finn Balor and JD McDonough, who have interfered in his matches against his wishes. I don't know. I think it would do him good to individualize him a little bit more. I think that would be a good thing, and it would help solidify his reign. I mean, I don't think he's necessarily a paper champion. He's held the title for a couple of months now. I don't think he's a transitional champion for the same reason, but I don't think he's a true world heavyweight champion based on the way he's been pushed and the way he's been showcased.
well, they haven't really given him a good story. That's
Exactly.
You're right. They have given him a good story. Mike, as CZ was explaining his answer, I thought of another question about this. Did they pull the trigger on the cash in way too late? Should he have cashed in sooner? Would we care more about his title reign had he have not cashed in WrestleMania, had been a champion for him? I don't know. I thought there was a time. I thought there was a time where they waited too long for him to cash in. But then when the cash in happened to me, it was like, oh, this was the perfect time. I just wish we could go back to the night of Mania that he cashed in and bottle up that excitement that was in the air when it went down, when it happened.
Yes.
And I know CM Punk was very key in that cash in, and Drew McIntyre, of course, got cashed in on. But I wish we could just capture that excitement once again and be able to like start this reign over and go and give him something now, because who's he facing? Is he facing Gunther now at SummerSlam? Is that the match?
Unless he has a match at Money in the Bank.
Right. He could get cashed in on Money in the Bank, could he not?
And we still don't have any qualifying people. Well, we don't know who's going to be in that ladder match either. So
let's rewind a little bit, Nick. I want to talk about something you just mentioned. Has the rival, because there's been an ongoing rivalry between Priest and Drew McIntyre that hasn't really been as prominent as it could be. Has the rivalry between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre taken away from Priest's title reign?
I think it has. Yes, I think it has, because everybody knows as soon as Punk gets cleared, that's the feud everybody wants. That's what everybody is looking forward to seeing, Punk and Drew. Ever since Punk got hurt at Rumble, at this Mania, Drew gets petty and talks about taking him out and ruining his WrestleMania.
All the merchandise.
Punk ups the pettiness with promos and costing him the title. And you get Punk's interaction last night in the championship match. That's what people want to see. And unfortunately, Damian Priest is holding the gold. And Punk and Drew are not. But I will be one to say this. I don't think Punk and Drew need to have the belt.
I don't think so either.
They don't.
No.
It's petty and bitter enough between the two of them. Let them two go out there and just make magic, and we'll all rejoice in it, because those guys, I think, do have some legit beef against each other. But we've seen in the past, when you get guys that have legit beef against each other, they usually get in the ring, and if they're professional enough, we'll make magic, and then the fans are the winners. So, will the belt get involved in Punk and Drew's feud down the road?
I can't see it happening.
You can see it happening or cannot?
No, I can't.
Well, right now, but I think somewhere down the road, after they have their initial feud, it'll come back up. But everybody right now wants to see Punk and Drew, and I think that's unfortunate for Damian Priest.
I agree. I completely agree.
Or if they're going to throw us a big curveball, they might have Punk win the Money in the Bank this year if he's cleared.
We talked about that on the write-up yesterday to Waterloo season. He'd be a 3-time Money in the Bank winner. And, I mean, that would add to him and Drew's feud, right? I mean, hey, at any moment I can become champ and have what you don't have. I mean, it would add to it. I'm not going to lie. It would definitely spice things up.
And definitely, like, when Punk's about to cash in, McIntyre screws him over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not Damian Priest's fault. It's not. I just think he's not doing anything wrong in this reign. It may be how it's being booked and being pushed. It's just because everybody wants to see Punk and Drew. And we would have seen Punk and Drew already had Punk not gotten hurt at Rumble, but we haven't.
Yeah, because we would have had that match at Mania.
We would have had that match. We absolutely would have had that match. But now, as wrestling fans, we've been waiting for that to stew, waiting for him to come back and get cleared, and now our interest is peaking more and more for Drew and Punk, and unfortunately, it takes away from Priest's reign, to no fault of Damian Priest.
No, not at all. He has done nothing wrong. It's just the way things have played out that it feels like he's being swept under the rug, and I'm sure it's unintentional. But this is not going to go down as one of the greatest title reigns in history. It just isn't.
Which really sucks, because he's for how tall the guy is, he's one of the most gifted guys they got right now.
He's a great worker. He can go in there and work with any guy any size. I mean, he made Bad Bunny look like he's been doing this for a while, right? He was amazing in that match. And even with his tag team with Finn Balor, they went out there and had some good tag matches. He's a good in-ring worker. It's just something behind the scenes isn't clicking, isn't working. I hope that it gets fixed, and I hope that he's champion until Gunther takes it off in SummerSlam.
Or, hey, I mean, I love to see Gunther. I think it's also his time to be world champion, but that's.
I do too.
Yes.
We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the main event.
Oh, go ahead. Yes, by all means.
Unless you had something, CC, go ahead.
No, I was gonna. Let's talk about that main event. this was probably this is the tie for me as the second best match on the night. The I Quit match, the 2 title matches for the main belts were equally. I give them equal footing as far as where they fit in my highlights of the show. I thought that Priest and Drew told a really good story. I thought it was really well done. I loved. I do you know, was it intentional that Priest got caught in the ropes, or was that just happenstance and they played off it?
Honestly, it was really hard to tell. It
Yeah.
really was hard to tell because how just from Drew's reaction, he was like not sure what to do, in a sense, because he looked at him like, what do I do next? And that's when he was doing those little stomps.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. He kind of seemed like, was that supposed to happen or not? Which we talked about the rope snafus earlier. That was the one I was going to talk about. Was Priest getting stuck, but kind of an awkward moment. But the pros play it off. Did CM Punk need to be involved in this match, in your guys' opinion?
So here's I'm going to say this. If he hadn't been involved, we would have had a new champion, and there wouldn't have been more fuel added to the feud between him and McIntyre. Do I think he needed to be involved? No. But the way the match was playing out, there was no way that Priest was walking away winning that match as it came to its conclusion unless Punk interfered. And I think it only adds to the storyline between Drew and CM Punk that he was there. So I'm kind of on the fence on that question, Nick. I really am. On one hand, no, I don't think he needed to be involved. But on the other hand, we're just in front of his hometown crowd. We're just heating it up even more and giving that more intensity to that rivalry.
So I don't know if any of you noticed it, but when they put the camera on Punk, there was like really no reaction or boos or anything. They were like the crowd was silent. I don't know if it was just what I've noticed, but I'm just surprised they didn't boo him out of the building.
Yeah, you're when you put him out there and judging what and knowing what's happening between him and Drew, you're looking for that nuclear heat pop where he's getting booed. For costing the hometown boy his chance at a championship. That's 2 years in a row that Drew gets more or less screwed out of a title at Clash of the Castle. Definitely adding fuel to the fire, to his character. And the fact that Punk screws him out of it this year just adds more to this feud, right?
Yeah. 100%.
We've got a comment here on the show comments from Mad Maddox. He wants to know, what was your biggest highlight of Clash at the Castle? Striker, you're the guest. I'll start with you, bud.
I would probably say we're starting to see the ending of Alpha Academy, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next.
Okay.
With like Gable and Otis, because I could see maybe a match or two with those two, maybe.
Stacey, what was your highlight of Clash of the Castle?
Just that whole match, the Intercontinental Championship match as a whole, the story they built, the crumbling of the Alpha Academy. I thought that was the highlight of the whole show. Just the way everything was put together in that entire matchup. What about you, Nick?
I was a big fan of the Intercontinental Championship match. You guys have both touched on that. I'll talk on the I Quit match. Not necessarily my favorite stipulation for a match. At times, I think I Quit matches get slow and boring as you're putting the microphone in an opponent's face and talking to him.
Like every 5 minutes.
Right. I thought the pacing, though, was good of this. They did plenty of stuff outside the ring. They did stuff in the ring. Handcuffs were introduced, different weapons, and we're seeing one of the best wrestlers of this time period. I'm talking about AJ Styles here, going out and just continuously having great matches. I don't care about the wins and losses, but the matches that he is having at this stage, and it's a treat. It's a treat to watch AJ Styles matches, in my opinion. I never got to see a lot of the TNA stuff when he was there, and.
So I have a quick question. I don't know if any of you would know the answer to this. What was that I Quit match? The quickest I Quit match?
It might have been. It might have been one of the quicker ones, and maybe that's why I'm liking it so much, because it was paced well. It did not have really any dead spots. Where you're looking at your watch or looking at your phone being like, oh man, when's this match going to be over?
I quit already.
Yeah. I never felt that with this match. And I thought they did a great job with it. And AJ Styles just continues to go out there and put on great matches. And Cody's good too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from Cody, but just wanted to give AJ Styles his flowers.
Oh yeah. He is very well-deserved flowers. He is one of the best in the business, has been for a while, and continues to this day to be so.
Well, I think that might put a bow on our weekend, CZ. Is that too wrong to say at this point? We've had quite the weekend. I know Stryker went to 2 SCW shows this weekend. We were at Absolute Pro Wrestling yesterday, doing the pre-show podcast party, doing play-by-play on the commentary. We did a post-show too as well. So we had a full night last night, and hopefully you've enjoyed our our Styles Clash at the Castle review, episode 130 here on the Card Subject to Change podcast on the 4 Frequency Sake Network.
Yeah, I think that puts a wrap on our weekend here. As much as I hate to say it, I would love for this wrestling weekend to continue despite the Wrestle Hangover. But let's talk a little bit about next week, Nick. We've got a double shot, 2 for 1 on Sunday. Better than a hot dog and a handshake. We have returning to the podcast, the chosen one himself, one Eric Esnight. We'll be talking to him, catching up on how he's been doing and his career. I definitely want to talk. He's added a couple members to the chosen, so I definitely want to find out more about that for sure. And then at the end of at a regular time, we will be interviewing Matt Hatter, a prominent Midwest wrestler, who I love what he does. He's stay tuned. You'll see some pictures posted. He, as you can probably guess by the name, is very into Alice in Wonderland. One character in particular, and we're all mad here, so he'll fit right in, right?
Yeah, he's gonna blend in real well with what's here already. That's for sure. Especially with you. I had to say it. We're all mad here.
Man. We are. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in, whether you did today, whether you're listening after the fact, once this is posted on all audio platforms. If you didn't get a chance to check it out, go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/@CSTC podcast. We've got most of last night's Absolute Pro show with Never Wrong, myself, and Jason Prentice doing commentary on the show. That is a YouTube exclusive that you can find only on our page. Check our t-shirts out at TeePublic. Link, like I said, is in the description of this video. Stryker sporting one for us today, the established in 2022 card subject to change original design. But yeah, for our guest host striker, for my tag team partner, Never Wrong, Nick Bull, I am the Wizard CZ. This has been Card Subject to Change, the podcast by the fans, for the fans, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, protected by Jared Zook Country Financial. We will see you next week right here on Card Subject to Change.